Welcome back. Our next guest uses astrology to help her clients find meaningful work, and she can help us too. We welcome back career astrologer Aubrie De Clerck. Aubrie, welcome.
Thanks.
Well, first off, I just have to ask you, what does meaningful mean when we're talking about astrology?
Well, when we're talking about meaningful work in astrology, the idea about meaningful work is it's something that's unique to all of us.
Okay.
Right? It's not something, a lot of times people come to my office and they feel like, well, I want to do something with purpose and I want to give back. And so they assume that the route they need to go is to go into nonprofit work or go into social work.
Right, because meaningful doesn't always mean the giving back. Meaningful means it means something to you.
Yes, and meaningful means that we're using the gifts and talents that we have and applying them to our work. So let's say I have skills and talents that may not be super applicable to something inside of the nonprofit world. That's not going to help anybody.
Right,
Be frustrating.
Right. There's community service that you can do, but it doesn't mean that you have to live your whole life, a career out of what you think meaningful work is.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so there is a great distinction made by Elizabeth Gilbert, the author, and she talks about the difference between job and career and vocation and hobby.
Which are?
So hobbies are some things that we really enjoy doing.
Sure.
And we do it on our own time, kind of like what you're talking about. Hey, there's lots of ways I could do on my own time that thing.
Yeah.
Then vocation is something maybe that we feel really called to do, that we don't have a lot of description for, but feels really meaningful in that way. And so that's something that may or may not overlap with paid work.
Oh, okay. And can it also conflict sometimes with what you may want to do?
Yeah.
Like you feel compelled to do something, but you don't necessarily feel like doing it?
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then job and career are those pieces that we associate in our American culture with what we get paid to do, right? The job that I go into on a day-to-day basis, and then a career that's usually a connection of a number of different jobs together over a series. Or careers don't have to have those jobs connected, but they can have their own theme.
Interesting, because I always thought a job is just something you do to get paid, and a career is something that you cultivate over time, hopefully having some meaning behind it. So I'm glad you're here, because I'm hoping you can tell me if I am doing a job or am I having a career here based in astrology?
Yeah, well, if we talk about the astrology, right, it's because some of those things we can answer for ourselves, and sometimes we get to points in our lives where we're not sure, right? Like this job isn't feeling as meaningful as it used to be, or I thought I was building this career and it looks different than I thought. Or I'm getting this calling and I wish it would just go away. So when we look at the chart, we look at it for some grounding inside of ourselves. And so if we take a look at part of our charts and we can say, what provides meaning? There's multiple parts of the chart that we can look there. But if we look at the sun sign, right, and if we go back to your sign being Scorpio, right, we can look at, in general, things that Scorpios like to do that have meaning are things that get underneath the surface to do some investigation.
You mean like sitting here asking you a bunch of questions, Aubrie?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm feeling some meaning coming along here. Okay.
And then for each person, it's different based on what is that about, right? So for you, it's investigating it through conversation, which there are going to be clues in your chart about that as well. For other Scorpios, it may be, I'm going to investigate what's going on inside of this organization, and I'm not really, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't scare me, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to figure out what it is, and I'm going to help people try and fix it.
Wow, okay.
So there's lots of ways of contributing our gifts, right? So that's a good example of why it can be on TV, or it could be when someone works pretty solo.
Interesting. So even through the use of astrology, we can figure out if we do solo work or even teamwork better than others?
Yeah, it can give us some clues, and it gives me a good place to start getting curious. So,
so being curious is important.
Very important. Very
Why?
important. Well, because I think that we have a lot of times in our life, like I don't know if you took any tests in school, right? You think,
yeah, plenty of tests.
You know, when they say, okay, well, what should you be, right? Or you take the Myers-Briggs type indicator. Lots of people do those kinds of things, right? And they tell you what you should be. Getting curious about ourselves really allows for some space for us to understand that we have a lot of answers inside of us, and the connections between those things may not be so obvious as a title. And so astrology in the chart can point to some places to get really curious, where I could ask you some questions about that, like being say, okay, so investigate what?
Right.
Connection with people, connection how?
Oh, okay.
In what way, to what end?
Interesting. So you ask more, the more you know, it seems like the more questions that you can have around it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my husband is a Capricorn.
Okay.
And I don't know much about astrology. That's why you're here. He said he tends to be very focused on anything. Does that sound like, would meaningful work for him be something where he's laser focused on something?
And driven?
Yeah.
Yeah, and accomplishment and achievement and having specific goals and strategies about doing that. Probably a super hard worker.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So, and someone that people probably look up to, right? We'll say that's a leader for us, right? Whether that person is managing people or not managing people, or leading initiatives or not leading initiatives.
That you say that.
Yeah, and so it's there's things about our nature that can be really helpful. And then what is exciting about astrology is because there's so many different points on the chart is that we can look about that uniqueness about the way someone does that. So that there's themes in the way that we go about how we do our work as individuals, but there's also lots of variation about how those themes get expressed over time.
So if somebody's a little lost or confused, it would be a good idea to maybe perhaps explore, get curious about the meaningful life that you could have through what you learn from astrology.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool. And I like the fact that I feel like I must be doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So thank you, Aubrie.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to have Aubrie's tips and more information on our website at katu.com.